Hello and good evening. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar tonight entitled The City of Los Angeles Office of Finance, presented by the City of Los Angeles' Department of Cannabis Regulation. Before we get started, let's take a moment to review some housekeeping rules. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and can be viewed after the editing process on DCR's website. You will be muted with cameras off for the duration of the webinar. This means that your camera and audio functions will not be available to you during this session. However, you will be able to hear and see all the panelists. There's an open chat box where you can interact with one another for networking or comment on the information being provided. Please use caution when sharing personal information in a public forum and keep your questions focused on tonight's topic. Please ask questions. Ask questions about tonight's subject matter in the Q&A box. We are gathering and responding to your questions throughout the presentation, and we'll have a Q&A session where you'll also get responses in the last 15 minutes of tonight's event. You are encouraged to utilize the Q&A box at the bottom pane of your Zoom screen. If you use the Q&A box for questions, everyone will be able to see the questions when they are answered. And finally, please note that the content being presented tonight was not created by the Department of Cannabis Regulation or the City of Los Angeles and is for informational purposes only. This information is subject to change and does not replace or supersede the Los Angeles Municipal Code nor constitute legal advice. If you have specific questions outside of tonight's topic, please call 213-978-0738 during business hours, which are Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. to speak to a DCR representative. I have the pleasure tonight to introduce our two wonderful representatives from the City of Los Angeles Office of Finance. First, I'd like to introduce Jonathan Lee, who is the Principal Tax Auditor. And second, I'd like to introduce Brett Santos, Principal Tax Compliance Officer with the Office of Finance. He manages the Cannabis Regulation Support Public Counter Unit. Brent will be presenting first, so I'll ask him to share his screen and start his presentation.
Okay, thank you, Ernesto. And good evening, everyone. Tonight, we will be providing valuable information in the cannabis licensing process, cannabis business taxation, and the support and coordination our department, the Office of Finance, provide the Department of Cannabis Regulation. In general, business taxation in the City of Los Angeles is for every person who engages in a business within the city of LA. They are required to obtain the necessary business tax registration certificates and pay the business tax. However, for a cannabis-related business located within the city, they are required to get an approval from the LA City Department of Cannabis Regulation to be able to register their business with the Office of Finance, obtain a BTRC or a business tax registration certificate, and pay their business tax. So, what is the role of the Office of Finance in the cannabis licensing process? First is Finance is responsible for the enforcement of the city's cannabis business tax. Our department, collects the Department of Cannabis Regulation permit fees and collects the city's business taxes. We also coordinate with the Department of Cannabis Regulation in the cannabis licensing process. In the Office of Finance, there are two units that mainly handle the cannabis-related transactions or matters at the Office of Finance, and each has its own roles and functions. First, I'm representing the Cannabis Regulation Support Public Counselor Unit. And the second unit is the Cannabis Audit Unit, in which Mr. Lee will be providing some information later. The Cannabis Regulation Support Public Counselor Unit handles the scheduling of cannabis-related in-person office visits, cash payment collection of $1,000 or more, and processing of mailed DCR permit payments. The unit also coordinates with the Department of Cannabis Regulation in the licensing process and is the primary contact for cannabis business tax-related inquiries. Information on the Cannabis Audit Unit will be provided in the second part of this presentation. When do you contact the Office of Finance? For cannabis businesses that have not received a temporary approval from the Department of Cannabis Regulation, they contact the Office of Finance when they are going to pay their J-102 pre-application review invoice, or if they are ready to pay the Department of Cannabis Regulation fees as invoiced by the department. For cannabis businesses that have been approved by the Department of Cannabis Regulation to operate in the city, they contact the Office of Finance when they pay their monthly business tax, their audited tax balance, or any other outstanding tax and permit liabilities. They will also contact our office when paying their annual cannabis permit renewal in person. When paying they also contact us when they have to pay their modification fee in person, and when they have received an audit request and they are responding to an audit review. Most questions out there, they ask, can I pay my DCR invoice online? Currently, only the monthly business tax are accepted online. They are, and also payment of notice of tax dues, assessment notices are accepted online. You are able to pay online by visiting our website at finance.lacity.org. If you choose to pay in person, payment of DCR invoices can only be done at the main City Hall, and it is by appointment only. DCR currently allows invoice payments to be mailed to the City of Los Angeles Office of Finance, Attention Our Unit, at 200 North Spring Street, Room 101, Los Angeles, California, 90012. What are the payment types accepted by the Office of Finance? We accept cash, check, money order, credit card, ACH, and e-check methods. But it is important that any payment method, aside from the ACH and e-checks, appointment is required in person. So how do you contact the Office of Finance when you're ready to pay your invoice? Currently, the Office of Finance main City Hall office is open for in-person visits by appointment only. Our West Los Angeles location is temporarily closed, and the Van Nuys location does not accept cannabis appointments or transactions. To request an in-person visit, or if you have general cannabis business tax questions, you can email us at finance.csd.appt@lacity.org, or you can call us at 213-978-1540. For new applicants, one of the requirements of the process is the submission of the business tax application. People ask, can cannabis businesses, for cannabis businesses located inside the City of Los Angeles, they are required to obtain a license from DCR to operate in the city legally. Due to that requirement, business tax applications received online pertaining to a cannabis business are disregarded The applicant will be referred to the Department of Cannabis Regulation for the cannabis licensing process. If your business is located outside of the city of Los Angeles and you sell cannabis products or transport cannabis goods to customers located inside the city, a BTRC is required for the intercity business activity. Out-of-city cannabis businesses that engage in cannabis-related activities inside the city of Los Angeles will be referred to the Cannabis Audit Unit for review. If you want to visit our office, you can send your request for an appointment to our general email, which is finance@csc.appt@lact.org. And when you send your request, please include the following information: the legal name of the business, the business tax registration certificate number, if available, the estimated or actual payment amount, and the type of payment that you're going to make, your contact name and telephone number, and any documents such as the DCR invoice and finance business tax reporting forms, notice of tax due, and other documents must be attached with the request. Upon receipt, your in-person request will be confirmed by email. Do not show up to the office without a confirmation email. That concludes my presentation, and I'll pass it on to Jonathan. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jonathan Lee. I'm the Principal Tax Auditor. I will be going over just general information on how to report your taxable measures, different information on different fund classifications, and basic tax computations. Beginning January 1st, 2018, business taxation of cannabis activities changed from the sole taxation of medical marijuana sales to include all facets of cannabis business operations. The existing L050 medical marijuana business tax classifications ceased to exist on that date. When selling products directly to customers located inside the city of Los Angeles, those sales are subject to the city's cannabis tax, which is determined based on license type and your projected gross receipts. However, only a portion of the gross receipts from inter-city cannabis activities will be taxed. To further determine what category your sales fall in and how your portion of city taxes will be calculated, you may always email the LA City Office of Finance Cannabis Unit by email at cannabisaudit@lacity.org. If you don't know which side of the fence you fall on, and you happen to get a letter from the city regarding possible business activities inside of its jurisdiction, read the letter and contact the person listed to determine if a business license is required for inter-city cannabis activities. Do not avoid requesting a BTRC and filing your taxes in due time, since it will catch up with you and result in penalties and additional fees. Unpaid taxes will result in paying interest fees and penalties on top of your original owed amount. A cannabis business owner or representative seeking a license renewal from the Department of Cannabis Regulations must be current on Los Angeles City of Finance tax filings and amounts due before the renewal will be considered. Effective July 1st, 2019, business tax on cannabis activities are due on a monthly basis. The tax payments is due on the first day of the following month and is considered late if not paid by the last date of the month due. For example, your tax payment for July is due on August 1st. Your filing is considered late if it is not paid by August 31st and will be charged penalties for every month it is late after the final due date. If we continue using the same example, and if you have not paid your tax payment by August 31st, come September 1st, you will now owe 5% on top of your original bill or on top of the 5% of the principal amount. If you do not pay the original owed amount, plus the additional interest for missing payments for July, when September rolls around, you will rack up more dues and owe August tax bill as well. By October 1st, your penalties would have just doubled to 10% and will continue to do so by 5% for each month thereafter until you reach month 5 or 20% in cumulative penalties. At this point, you have now doubled your penalty fees, so you will owe up to 40% in penalties for the July payment that you did not pay for by the August 31st deadline. And that's not all. Keep in mind that you will also have to pay interest fees for any late payments. Although interest rates are determined annually, they are charged monthly in addition to the penalty fees. The monthly interest rates is 0.5%. The table on the screen shows you how to identify your activity type, tax classification, and rate. If your business conducts sales of medical cannabis, your tax classifications is L711, medical cannabis, which is taxed at $50 for each 1,000 of gross receipts. If your business conducts sales of adult cannabis or cannabis products, your tax classification is L712, adult use cannabis, which is a tax rate of $100 for each $1,000 of gross receipts. If your business is focused on transportation or delivery of cannabis or cannabis products, your classification is L713, cannabis transportation, which is a tax rate of $10 for each $1,000 of gross receipts. If your business conducts activities related to the testing or researching of cannabis or cannabis products, your tax classification is L714, cannabis testing, which is a tax rate of $10 for each $1,000 of gross receipt. If your business is focused on manufacturing or cultivation of cannabis or cannabis products, your tax classification is considered L716, cannabis cultivation, which is a tax rate of $20 for each $1,000 of gross receipt. If your business is focused on the commercialization of cannabis or cannabis products not specifically covered in the other activities, your tax classification is considered L718, cannabis miscellaneous, which is a tax rate of $20 for each $1,000 of gross receipts. Remember that all gross receipts generated from business activities are subject to tax and should be included in the calculation of your gross receipts. This includes any excise tax, other taxes, and fees collected. The tax is self-reported by you, and it is your responsibility as a taxpayer to register for all tax classifications and report all gross receipts earned. On this slide, this is just a sample calculation of what goes on a sales receipt and what is considered what should be included in the tax measure. The sample of sales receipts received, there's sales of cannabis, edibles, concentrate, capsule, and delivery fee, which comes to a subtotal of $256. There's also a charge of excise tax, which is $30.72. The subtotal of those two charges will be $286.72. There is an additional charge of sales tax, which is $27.24. Please keep in mind that sales tax is excluded from calculations of gross receipts. So in this example, the taxable gross receipt will be $286.72. On the next slide, calculation of gross receipts when excise tax and business tax are collected from the consumer. Sample of the sales receipts, there's cannabis sales, edibles, concentrate, capsule, and delivery fee, which totals to $256. Also, excise tax is collected at $30.72, and the LAMC business tax, the City of Los Angeles business tax, is also collected at $25.60. Consumers that are charged for the city business tax, this is also going to be included into your gross receipts calculations. So the subtotal that is taxable will be $312.32. Sales tax, again, is not included in the computation of gross receipts, so therefore they are excluded from tax. After calculating the taxable gross receipts, round up to the nearest $1,000 and multiply against the applicable tax rate. For the example here, example using adult use gross receipts, there are cannabis sales of $3,045, edibles of $2,050, concentrate of $1,060, and collection of excise tax at $738.60, which totals to $6,893.60. The excise tax is included in the calculation of gross receipts. With the total adult use receipts, you will round up to the nearest 1,000, which is 7. The adult use tax rate is $100 per 1,000, and you will multiply line A with B, and that your total tax due will be $700. If you have multiple cannabis businesses or multiple tax classifications, your receipts should be allocated accordingly and taxed per each specific classification. Any non-cannabis products sold at your facility to other retailers should be classified and taxed as wholesale sales. The tax rate for this bracket is $1.01 for each $1,000 of gross receipts and is due annually. Non-cannabis products sold at retail cannabis businesses should be classified and taxed as retail sales. The tax rate for non-cannabis retail sales is $1.27 for each $1,000 of gross receipts and is due annually. Non-cannabis products include branded merchandise, smoke pipes, grinders, and etc. CBD products that are sold at retail or wholesale level will be taxed as cannabis sales and should be classified accordingly. The magic number for record keeping is 7 because all businesses' financial records such as bank statements, sales invoices, receipts, point of sales records, and tax records are required to be kept and maintained for at least 7 years by the California Department of Food and Agriculture and other state agencies, in addition to the LA Office of Finance and the LA Department of Cannabis Regulation. Pay close attention to documenting and keeping all claims of medical cannabis sales in particular, as taxation of medical cannabis will be verified during an audit. Tax audits will occur on a regular basis to verify compliance with the city tax codes. When you receive a letter requesting to set an audit appointment, please read the letter and contact the auditor listed in the letter to confirm the scheduled appointment. Failure to respond to the letter will result in an estimated assessment. If you are unable to make the appointment listed on the notice, you may reschedule the appointment one time with a valid reason. For any more questions, you can visit the Los Angeles City Office of Finance website at finance.lacity.org for more detailed tax information and services to file your renewals and pay bills online. Thank you.
All righty, thank you. Oh, we have a lot of questions. Thank you again for the informative information. Very important information and things that all businesses have to be aware of and to think about. So I have a few questions to start off with, and I'll start off, Jonathan, with you. What does someone do, a business do, when they receive an audit notice?
The first thing to do is to, once you receive an audit notice, to make sure to contact the tax auditor that is listed on the notice and to schedule an appointment. If there's any issues with scheduling issues, please let the tax auditor know so that they could reschedule the audit and we could try to accommodate as best as we can. But it's best that you do not ignore the audit letter, as the tax auditor will be reaching out. And if there is no contact and if there's no response, we will close the audit with the estimated assessment.
Okay, great. All right, next question. What records will I have to provide during an audit?
During an audit, we request for all financial records such as bank statements, sales invoices, receipts, point of sales records, and tax records. These are the required documents that we review. So if you guys could, if those will be prepared and provided to us, that'll be what we'll be asking for during an audit.
And for those documents that you just shared, how many years should people keep as a standard practice, businesses keep as a standard practice?
As we shared, 7 years is the standard of keeping all your records, so that that follows, the state regulations as well.
Yeah. So now that we're obviously in a very technological age, physical copies, electronic copies, as far as those records, what works and what doesn't work?
If you have physical copies or electronic copies, those are all helpful as well. During the audit, you can let the tax auditor know how you keep your records, and from there we could accommodate depending on how you want to provide your records over as well.
So there's really no issue either way, as far as, because 7 years is a long time, especially if you're doing a lot of transactions, to keep all that kind of documentation.
Of course, and I know every business keeps their records in different manners, but the first main goal is to make sure that you guys do have records available, and that's either in physical or electronic copies. And those are something that we'll go through and verify as well.
Sounds great. All right, Brett, I'm going to come over to you really quickly. Can a business submit their business tax application online?
Okay, thank you for that question. And that's the most questions that we receive from customers, especially now, like we just said, it's a tech-savvy generation right now. Unfortunately, for cannabis-related businesses, there is a layer of licensing process involved, wherein they do not follow the typical application process where someone can just submit their application online. First step is always to go through the Department of Cannabis Regulation. However, recently, the Department of Cannabis Regulations have required new applicants to have a BTRC number. So a lot of these folks are trying to submit their application online. However, those applications will be disregarded. The instructions that DCR have right now for these applicants is to submit their business tax application to their department, and their department will share that information with us, and in turn we will use that application to set up a BTRC number for the applicant, and they will be able to get their BTRC number from the Department of Cannabis Regulations so that they can proceed with their application process. So please do not submit their applications online.
That's very helpful information. Yeah, thank you. All right, next question, Brent. Where can I pay my DCR invoice or monthly business tax?
Okay, so there are two things here. I can start first with the monthly business tax because that's the simplest thing. Once you are licensed with the Department of Cannabis Regulation, and you have been approved, and now basically you are a legitimate or legal business in the city of Los Angeles, now you're subject to tax. In paying your tax liabilities, we encourage people to take advantage of our website by paying online. They're able to do that. They report their gross receipts, and they can pay by credit card, by e-check, and ACH. But right now we transitioned our online payment by e-checks.
Okay.
Okay. Now for the applicants and for cannabis accounts that have been approved, they will occasionally receive an invoice from the Department of Cannabis Regulations. Those invoices, they are not able to pay online. They have to contact our office to schedule an in-person payment, or what we encourage, if they are able to, is to mail their payment to 200 North Spring Street, room 101, Los Angeles, California. The 2023 DSR permit renewal is ongoing right now. Those types of invoice, we encourage folks to either mail it, to mail it to our office and not do an in-person payment.
That's very, very helpful. That's very helpful. Because I think people would naturally think that they can pay everything online, and that's obviously not the case. Thank you for sharing that. All right, another one, Brent. What are the payment types accepted? And it sounds like you answered this already, but what are the payment types accepted by the Office of Finance?
Yes, so for in-person, we accept cash, credit card, check, money order payments. If they're paying online, obviously cash is not accepted. They can pay by credit card, by e-check, and also debit card if they select to do so.
Awesome, thank you so much. So Brent, again, what are the cannabis tax rates?
Okay, so for cannabis businesses, the tax rate is driven by their cannabis activities that the Department of Cannabis Regulation have approved them to perform inside the city of Los Angeles. In part of the presentation, Jonathan went through the different rates for an activity. So just to give an example, if you are a medical cannabis sales type of business, you are classified under L711, and their taxation is $50 per thousand. If they are an adult use cannabis sales, they fall under L712. Their tax rate is $100 per thousand. If they fall under cannabis transportation, L713, their tax rate is $10 per thousand. If they fall under cannabis testing, L714, their tax rate is $10 per thousand. And if they are a cannabis cultivation business, L716, their tax rate is $20 per thousand. And lastly, if they are a cannabis miscellaneous, their tax L718, their tax rate is $20 per thousand.
Great. Very informative. So let's go back to payments. And you mentioned about paying in person. Again, people think online, let me make my payment online, but if you do have to schedule a payment in person, how does someone do that?
Yes. So currently, although the City Hall is open to the public, we don't allow walk-in payments for cannabis. Everything is done through an appointment. We have our general email address, which is finance.cst.appt@lacity.org. And they can email their request to come in to pay in person. And one of our team members, we will respond to them and provide them a confirmation email once the appointment is scheduled. That appointment is their key to enter our doors, as they have been scheduled to make a payment in person.
Great, thank you for that information, because again, most people think they can just walk in and make their payment, and obviously if they're running a business, it's good to know that you, like anything else, you need an appointment to go ahead and make that payment. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and then if I may add, I encourage everyone to visit our website, because rules and policies change as with COVID-19 restrictions, etc.
Sure.
Things can change tomorrow, for example. So I always recommend the public to visit our website for up-to-date information about entering a city building.
Thank you for that. So going back to the tax rates that you had mentioned the last answer that you provided, we have an audience question. Hamlet, who's listening in, watching the session here, asks this question: when you say $100 per every 1,000, does that mean taxes included on that $1,000?
No, I think Jonathan can probably give more information on
Yeah,
that.
I'll take on that one. When we say $100 per thousand for the taxes, if I'm not sure if you're really saying like excise tax or other taxes collected, but in your taxable gross receipts, excise tax and other taxes and fees collected are considered taxable gross receipts. So those will all have to be included in that tax computation.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. All right, gentlemen, well, we're, coming towards the end of our presentation, a lot of great information, a lot of important information. So as a business owner myself, I'd like to ask both of you to give me your top two, and the top two being, what the top two recommendations that you would offer to businesses in the cannabis space relative to their finances and the things that have been discussed tonight, to make sure that from a compliance standpoint, from a record keeping standpoint, from just holistically as a business, especially as many of them are small businesses, what are the two top recommendations that you can make, Jonathan? And then I'll ask you, Brent, what are those two top recommendations?
I would say the first thing is anytime you get any notification or any letter from the city of Los Angeles, make sure to respond to it in a timely manner, because depending on what it could be, you want to make sure that you address it. And, we're here to help in addressing and resolving any issues or making sure that you guys are in compliance as well. The second thing would be record keeping, just doing your best to just keep clear, concise records, make sure that they're easily available and that they're easily accessible as well, that you can provide over to the auditors when or if your business is audited by the city of Los Angeles.
Brent, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay. So one important thing, the very first important thing that I would recommend is to pay your tax timely. Everyone knows when to pay their when to file their federal and state taxes. So if you're in business and you're engaged in the city of Los Angeles, be aware of our deadlines, because missing that deadline will cause you to pay interest and penalty. So put it on your calendar. For cannabis business taxes, it's a monthly tax. Non-cannabis taxes will vary, but most of them are annual taxes. So for those, Valentine's Day is an important day. I think tax day is also something that you put on your calendar.
Not as fancy or sweet, but very important.
Yes. And lastly, our division is a customer support division. And I know your time is valuable. Be aware of our policies right now on when to visit our office in person. Some people are driving from the Valley, from San Pedro, or far away, and not knowing or not requesting for an appointment. When they come to the office, they're being turned away. So I don't want to waste your time. Please check our website for any changes, and just always remember our current policy right now is for in-person payment, request an appointment.
Awesome, great. And so you've given your top two questions. One final thought from both of you. Just one final thought that will cap off your presentation. I know I'm asking a lot of information here, but as a business owner myself, it's important to know what you guys want to leave us with, because we want to stay on the right side of the taxes, which are an important part of doing business. So Jonathan, I'll start with you. One final note.
Oh man, if there's ever any questions that you might have in compute, with just calculating your taxes or anything, always do reach out to the city of Los Angeles. We are here to help in your tax and how to report your taxes and how to pay. And at the same time, to make sure that you do pay your taxes timely, as interest and penalties can occur. So to avoid that, do pay your taxes timely with the dates that were provided in this presentation today.
Okay, Brent, over to you.
Okay. One final word. My advice is be informed. Since the inception of the cannabis ordinance in 2018, I have seen a lot of changes from the Department of Cannabis side, from the Office of Finance side. And please bear with us because this is also new to us. We establish policies, and procedures. And like what we're doing right now, we try to reach out to you guys and provide those new information to you. It will only help your business succeed and move forward in a positive way. And visit our website. We try our best to put a lot of information there. Same thing with the Department of Cannabis Regulation. I've seen their website develop from a simple website to a very informative website. So be informed and good luck on your business.
I really appreciate it. I know everyone listening tonight really appreciates it. And again, really wants to stay on your good side because it's important to you. But, again, to your point, Brent, and I know Jonathan, it is a new space. It really is a new space. And keeping, records and keeping informed and trying to run, bring up a small business and run it, it can be overwhelming sometimes. It really can. So we really appreciate from, again, just as a small business owner myself, the information that you provided and the different, access to the website and opportunities to get connected and get your people's questions answered. I want to say a big thank you on behalf of everyone listening tonight. Have a great rest of the evening, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.